Hello, everyone. It's Rich Fettke, co-CEO of RealWealth. Great to have you here for the Focused Investor. This is part one, completing 2020, so wrapping up the year. And then in early January, I'll be delivering Focused Investor part two, which will be about setting your intentions and getting clear for 2021 and how you can make the most of next year. So with that, let's take a look back at 2020. And most of our webinars at Real Wealth are really focused on the how-tos of real estate investing and different markets, the economy. So today's a little different. This is the 15th year I've delivered the Focused Investor to Real Wealth members. I'm really honored to do that. And whether it's your first time here or your 15th time attending, I think you're still going to get a lot of value because if it's your 15th time or your fifth time or whatever, we keep growing and we keep learning and we are ready for new goals, new challenges come at us like this year, right? I think 2020 was a tough year for just about everyone. So really taking a look back and seeing how we can make the most of 2021 and see how we've grown this year. So with that said, we always have a disclaimer at Real Wealth, and today's disclaimer is a little bit different. So the strategies mentioned in this presentation may not be appropriate for everyone. These strategies are only appropriate if you have a strong desire to grow, improve, and be a more focused investor. Your past performance is no guarantee of future results. While every effort is made to design and create a life of abundance and happiness, the possibility of challenges, mess-ups, and failures always exists. However, I believe that you don't want to settle for a lame, boring life. You want to kick ass and get the most out of life. That's why you are here. So let's do this. This is Real Wealth. Real Wealth, as I'm sure if you've been around for a little bit, it's all about having the freedom and the money to live life on your own terms. And so it's that freedom, it's about happiness, it's about joy, it's about fulfillment. It's, why not do it? I read a great book recently called It's Not About the Money by Brent Kessel. And in it, he says, don't get me wrong. I am by no means saying that you can't be both wealthy and happy. But whether you have a seven-figure trust fund or a pile of unpaid bills on your kitchen table, the path to freedom requires that you focus more on your inner life than on your outer financial circumstances. So today is a little bit about the inner life, going inside, looking at what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, what real wealth is to you. Because some people are so poor that all they have is money. So we don't want to be one of those people, those people who have a whole bunch of money and they're going around grumpy and they're angry at the world, they're angry at themselves. We want real wealth and freedom and happiness. That's what we're in here for, right? So what we're all about at Real Wealth. So just give thought to this. In the webinar I did a few weeks ago about creating a real wealth plan, I asked this question. So I just want you to ponder this for a moment. What is real wealth for you? When you think about that, what does living life on your own terms look like for you? More time with your family, having that awesome house, having more time to give back and contribute, whatever it is for you. So think about that. What is real wealth for you? And today is really about, most of our webinars are about teaching you tips and tools and tricks and what's next, not tricks, but what's next and markets and all that. So today is going to be about education. Educate, meaning from the word educe, derived from the word educe, to draw out. So my goal today, I was a business and personal coach for 15 years, and it's a very Socratic method. It's very much about drawing out. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions today. So please make sure that you have a pen and some paper or something to write with, something to capture some ideas and your thoughts, because we're going to be looking back at you, your life in the year 2020, how you learned, how you grew, and all that, because it's going to have you be a more focused and better investor and better person and better human going into 2021. Okay, so hopefully you got down what is real wealth for you. Maybe jot that down. If you are really experiencing and living real wealth, what would life look like? What would you be doing more of? What would you be doing less of? And so today's really about mindset. I want you to open your mind up. An open mind collects more riches than an open purse. So let's open your mind up as we go through this today and take a look back at your year 2020. I do the same process, and I have done it with Kathy and our daughters. We've done this for many, many years now, probably 25 years with Kathy. I know that. And I'll be doing it tomorrow with my coach. I meet with my coach every Friday, and we always go over, how the week went. But tomorrow we'll be looking at how 2020 went for me, and then I'll be carrying that over and bringing it in with Kathy and our daughters to take a look at that, and our new son-in-law. So, because this is what we don't want. We don't want this to be you, right? We want to have our heads in the right place, not where this guy is. We want to pull our heads out, make sure that we're looking around, and move forward with clarity. So here's my goal for today, moving into 2021 and closing out the year. It's to help you gain clarity, awareness, and learn from the past year of your life so you can experience even more fulfillment and real wealth in 2021 and beyond. It's because there is a problem. It's like life is busy, right? We often put off what matters. We don't realize what really matters until it's too late. We get so busy and there's so much that's going on and so much coming at us that it's really easy to just go through life with blinders on and really not step back and take a look at what's working, what's not working, what successes did we have, what lessons did we learn, and all that, so we can grow and be better investors, better people. So here's the plan, and here's what we're going to do today. Basically, if you look, this is kind of the coaching process. We start with envisioning, which we did at the beginning of 2020, not knowing what was coming for the year. But in the Focused Investor Part 1, we looked at 2020 and what your goals were, what's important to you. From there, you came up with a strategy on your goals for the year and what you're going to take action on. Then you implemented that plan. You take action, you move forward on it. Through rituals and habits and taking action each week and dealing with fear. And then you step back and you observe what worked, what didn't work. So we're in that orange arrow today. We're going to take a look at the observing, what worked for you, what didn't work, and what did you learn. We do the same thing at RealWealth. We do it with our property teams around the country, and we do it with our whole team at our annual retreat. So we bring everyone together and go through this very similar process, looking at what did we learn? How did we grow this year? How did we become a better company? How do we better serve our members? So the same process we use in business as we do personally. And we're just going to boil down the clutter. So we're going to get out of the clutter and we're going to find simplicity, as Albert Einstein has instructed us to do. I think it makes a lot of sense. So why do it? Why do a year-end completion? Here's why. It allows us to pause and reflect and look back. We learn how to be happier, and we'll take a little look at that in a moment. And each year we become better. So as we get better, everything around us gets better, right? When you get better, when you improve, when you learn, when you become better, everything around you gets better. And not always immediately, but it happens. And there's some things that are out of our control. There are some things that are completely in our control. And what's in our control is what they call an internal locus of control. It's what's inside our mind. It's what we can control inside. Whatever happens on the outside, we can still control what happens on the inside. And that's when it comes back to our core values, our goals, what's important to us, how we want to be. So we're going to really take a look at that today, because it's going to have us be better investors, more focused investors, and more successful next year. So, I love the whole science of the brain and how it all works and what happens inside our brain and all that. So dopamine is this amazing thing. I mean, basically there's dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. They're like that quartet responsible for our happiness. And so many situations can really trigger these, they're neurotransmitters. But instead of being in the passenger seat, there's things that we can actually do and intentionally cause them to flow, to get a flow of these neurotransmitters, these brain chemicals, dopamine being one of the big ones there. See, dopamine, it motivates us to take action toward our goals. It gives us a surge of reinforcing pleasure when we're achieving our goals. It gives us that high when we're dealing with procrastination or self-doubt or lack of enthusiasm. Those are all linked to low levels of dopamine. So by getting high levels of dopamine, we can overcome procrastination, overcome that self-doubt, we can have more enthusiasm. So, studies have shown that these low levels of dopamine, they actually, when people have a low level of dopamine, they always opt for the easier option. They take it easy on themselves. So sometimes you have to do hard things. Sometimes you have to push it a little bit harder. Sometimes you have to do hard things for an easy life. This is a video I just saw that was really cool. He said, do hard things if you want an easy life, do easy things if you want a hard life. So we're going to kind of dig down here. We're going to look at what really matters for you and how you can have that better life. And it all comes down to neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is, it's really come to, I'm seeing a lot now. It was really not spoken about much, 10 years ago, 15 years ago when I started to deliver the focused investor and do research on it. But this term has really gained prominence in the latter half of this century. And it's really about, it shows that many aspects of our brain can actually be altered, even into adulthood. They used to think that our brains were static, they didn't change, they didn't evolve or get much better. But now we've learned that the brain is actually plastic, if you will. It can keep changing, and every time you fire a neuron from one neuron to another, basically it's Hebb's law. It's that neurons that fire together wire together. So when you start doing something on a regular basis, it transforms your brain, and it changes, and it makes a stronger connection between those neurons, and it forms the way that we think, the way that we operate. That's the way we form habits. It's the way why something in the beginning can seem very difficult, like learning about real estate investing can seem very overwhelming and difficult, so many terms, so much to learn. And then over time, after a couple of years, you're like, oh, I got this. This is not too hard, because you've experienced neuroplasticity, those neurons that have been firing as you practiced in deliberate practice and worked on things. It gets better and better. Your brain gets more effective. So looking back and being grateful is one of the best things we can do here. So we're going to look at that today and look at what you've been grateful for, what worked, what didn't work, and actually by restructuring our brains and making them better next year at this time, your brain's going to be much more effective. You're going to be a much more focused investor. You're going to experience more fulfillment. You're going to experience more real wealth just from doing this and sticking to it. All right, so now, like I said, I'm going to educe, I hope. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions today. And my goal is that you walk away from this with a one-pager that has a list of all the good stuff and all the challenging stuff from 2020 and what you learned and what you're going to carry forward into 2021 and beyond. Like I said, I do this with Kathy every year and our daughters, and so we can go back in time and we can, pull out 15 years ago, we can pull out our one pager for the year and say, oh, what was happening back in 2005, and take a look at that and see what did we learn, how do we grow, and it's a really cool experience. So when you do have these notes, I'd highly suggest that you save them somehow, either digitally or in a binder or something like that. But with that, let's take a look back on 2020. So for you, what was the best thing that happened in your life in the year 2020? Think about that. What was the best thing that happened in your life in 2020? And go ahead and write that down. And notice that little squirt of dopamine that you just got in your brain. You're welcome. Yeah, it's good. It's really cool. So looking back on that, I know for Kathy and me, our older daughter got married, and that was not too long ago here. And so that was the biggest thing for us. It was phenomenal. Okay, so you got that one down. Let's look at what else. What else happened in 2020 for which you are most grateful? What else happened this year that you're really grateful about? What successes and wins did you experience? And go ahead and write those down, as many things as you want to write. And like I said earlier, it's so easy to just let years run into years and decades run into decades without really stepping back and looking at wow, what am I grateful for? What worked? What did I like? So I'd really highly recommend with these questions that you bring them to your family, the people you love, the people you care about, even sit down with them and say, hey, let's go through this together. Let's take a look back on the year. And that's going to have you be more prepared when we do Focused Investor Part 2, setting your intentions for 2021 and beyond. Okay, so hopefully you've got some good things there. Take a look at that. Feel that gratefulness. So there were good things that happened in 2020. Okay, now let's continue looking back here on this last year. Who really gave to you, or helped you this year? Who comes to mind? Who really gave to you? Who helped you out? Who helped you grow? Who helped you do something or accomplish something? Go ahead and write that down. Maybe it's one person, maybe it's a few names that you're writing down. And then what do you want to do to acknowledge whoever helped you? Have you let them know how much of a help they've been? Did you acknowledge them? Acknowledgement is really nourishment for the soul. When you reach out and acknowledge someone, again, it gives you that same dose of dopamine, and actually it's oxytocin that's released. They call it the hugging drug. Makes us feel great about people and ourselves, and we're proud of people. So what can you do to acknowledge those people that helped you? And go ahead and write that down, and maybe even write down by when. It's really easy to think about that, like, this person really helped me out, and I want to let them know. And then all of a sudden time goes on and you forget about it. So maybe write down what you're going to do. Is it going to be a letter, a text, a call, in person? What might you do?